Hello and welcome. Our presentation will draw from the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which is believed to have been written sometime in the second century. And it was originally composed in Greek, although the most complete surviving version is in Coptic. Now, this gospel presents Mary Magdalene as the central spiritual figure in early Christian teachings. Now, the thing to keep in mind is that it was not unusual for a woman to be a spiritual leader within the Gnostic world, and possibly the early Christianity as well, considering that this was one of the early teachings, and Gnosticism was a competitor as far as religions went with early Christianity. So she receives this secret knowledge from Jesus. Now, keep in mind, this was written at least 100, maybe 200 years after Jesus was killed. So the information that is being shared, although while it's not Mary herself, but it would most likely have been a spirit teaching identifying itself as Mary Magdalene. And many of these teachings are most likely experiences of some type of meditation, clairvoyance, mediumship, trance mediumship, which is actually, the Gospels were written just as far off from the death of Jesus as well. None of those apostles were alive for them to gather information, verify anything from, because they were also written over 100 years after the death of Christ. So the writing, they say, was most likely intended for early Christian communities, particularly those influenced by the Gnostic idea that salvation comes through knowledge and experience rather than faith. So again, like our last presentation, we pick up in a conversation. And in this particular conversation, Peter asks, what is the sin of the world? Now, this is a good question. Many of us should ask this ourselves. What is the sin of the world? And the Savior said, there is no sin, but it is you who make sin when you do the things that are like the nature of adultery, which is called sin. That is why the good came into your midst, to the essence of every nature, in order to restore it to its root. That is why you become sick and die, for you are deprived of the one who can heal you. And it closes with, he who has a mind to understand, let them understand. Now, I don't know about you, but, when it's written here that you make sin when you do the things that are like the nature of adultery, well, I have to wonder just what it is about adultery that we might act like. So when we consider some of the commandments, because adultery is one of the commandments, thou shalt not steal. Well, the thing with stealing is you can accidentally put something in your pocket without thinking about it. It's happened. You caught up in a discussion, you pick something up, you hold it in your hands or something, the discussion concludes, and you just stick your hands in your pocket. Well, you may have done it intentionally, you may not have done it intentionally. The idea here is that the potential for doing something like that unintendedly is there. The same with murder. Thou shalt not kill. Well, you can kill someone by accident. Happens all the time. Driving along the road, somebody steps out in front of you, you kill them. Was it intentional? No, it was an accident. Many of these things happen. Honor your mother and father. Well, you can try to honor them, and in so doing, you harm yourself. You know, these you have these unintended consequences. However, adultery adultery is voluntary sexual intercourse between a married person and one who is not their spouse. That is something that cannot be accidental. Oh, you can say, oh, well, we were just drinking and commiserating, and then all of a sudden we were in bed. I don't know how it happened. It was an accident. No, it was not an accident because it was in your mind. You can blame the booze. You can blame your emotional state, but you still wanted it. It was intentional. And that's the idea here that is being presented. It is intentional. Sexual activity is intimate physical contact, intimate, deeply personal. You can't do any of this by accident, not when it is something that is so intimate as sexual intercourse. You don't do that by accident. You get caught up in the emotions, but at some point in time, the idea is in your head. Oh, yeah, I want to get it on with this person. It's in your head. That's not an accident. And that is what is being implied here. There is no sin, but it is you who makes sin when you do the things that are like the nature, key word here, nature of adultery. The nature of adultery is intentional. When you intentionally do something wrong to another person, that is like the nature of adultery. That is a sin, if you want to go with sin. We can look at the definition of sin, which is to miss the mark, but this has nothing to do with missing the mark. This is using terminology that is familiar of the day. To take it out of context, so it's more palatable, again, is you making sin when you do the things that are like the nature of adultery. You are doing it intentionally to make yourself feel better. And there are a lot of people that would do that. This is why the good came into your midst, to the essence of every nature, in order to restore it to its root. The good came into our midst to remind us that we are witnesses to our own wrongdoings, and that it is better to act and respond in a kind fashion, not act in kind, but in a kind fashion. Now think about this. The good comes into your midst. Where does the good come into your midst? Well, now, many of us have this inner voice, inner critic, spirit, conscience. We all have this little voice in here that is speaking to us, that reminds us to do good, to help us to return to as we were in the beginning, the root. Everything grows from a root. The root is the beginning. And in the beginning, it's not that we were innocent, but in the beginning, we did no harm. That may be what's implied here. Do no harm. And why is it that we become sick and die? Well, think about this. What is it that damages the body and damages the mind and causes you to be sick and causes you to die? It is stress. And what is it about this stress that is so dangerous to us, that deprives us of the one who can heal us? Well, now, it is the stress of guilt. It is the emotional stress of guilt that causes us to become ill. It is the mental stress of guilt that causes us to become ill. And through our illness, we die. Now, everything about Gnosticism is typically going to be spiritual, mental, emotional, in the mind. We kill ourselves spiritually. Our soul becomes ill and dies within us because we have deprived of ourselves of the one who can heal us. It's not that we have deprived of ourselves of Jesus or have deprived ourselves of God. It is that we have deprived ourselves of doing good. We have deprived ourselves of our soul. This body that you see here, that you see in the mirror, this body is a cocoon for the soul. Now, it's typically taught that the soul is imprisoned in the body, but that is incorrect. The soul forms the body around itself. What else forms a cocoon around itself? A caterpillar. And what happens when the caterpillar emerges from the cocoon? It is beautiful. However, if we intentionally do wrong things upon those who are around us, when we emerge from this cocoon, are we beautiful? If we are kind to those around us and we intentionally nurture them, that is what Jesus says in the Gospels. Love one another. To love is to nurture. You nurture other people. When you emerge from your cocoon, you are likely to be beautiful, a beautiful light, a beautiful, bright light. When the mind is affected by the wrongs that you have committed upon others, the body is deprived of that connection with the soul. And the soul is deprived of the body. The two are not separate. The soul forms the body carries the soul. They are intimate. Here we go with this adultery thing again, but they are intimate. The soul and the body are intimate, and that is something for you to keep in mind. I hope this was insightful for you. If it was, please like the video, consider subscribing. We explore a variety of philosophies, ideologies, spiritualities. Just think about it. and enjoy your day. Go out there and have fun.